So in this video, we're going to talk about how we can look at our elevations when they're on the sheet in working drawings. So if you look at this here, I've got it set to medium resolution and it's at hidden line. So this is the way I was always taught to do my elevations on working drawings. They're in black and white and they're using hidden line with like hatches to show the materials if necessary. Now you don't have to hatch every material. If I did an arrow there that pointed to the roof and said asphalt shingles, nobody's going to get confused because they know that the top of the building's the roof and it's asphalt shingles. Similarly, this is going to have a note that says ICF form with coating above grade, and everybody's going to know what that is. Now my footing has a hatch on it and my siding has a hatch on it. The reason I was always taught to do it this way was that it costs like $2 to print a big sheet in black and white with little lines, and it costs like $20 to print a sheet in full color with a full pattern and texture on it. And you're printing hundreds of sheets in the course of construction. Now, what's changed in the world is that a lot of these drawings aren't getting printed that much, and they're electronic PDFs that are on the job site. And job sites are actually starting to go paperless, so it's not that big a deal. And some people feel that showing the actual color materials is clearer than this is. Now, I originally was quite resistant to that, but I've been looking online and the jury's still out on that. Some people think that the color elevations are just as good or better, and other people are still sticking to the old school hidden line. So I'm going to show you how to do both. So let's just show you the difference between the two of them. So here's the color, I'm sorry, the hidden line, and here's the realistic color. So you can still see your notes and your lines going across it. It's going to cost a very much more to print these out on paper, but if you're doing PDFs, it doesn't cost you anything to have your elevations in color. Now, the one thing you do have to watch out for, so I'm showing my east elevation in color, and I'm showing my south elevation in color. You notice my west elevation is super dark. That's because it's in realistic mode, and that part happens to be in shade the way the view for this elevation is set up. So I'm going to go ahead and change the visibility graphics on this. Oh, not visibility graphics. It's graphic display options. And what we want to do is come into the lighting tab. And where it says in session multi-day, we want to change that to just lighting and then sunlight from top right. So it's going to be showing, we're not going to show the shadows, but this will at least put the face into sun. I'm going to hit OK and OK. Now you see the color matches all the other ones. So that's how that looks. So if you decide to do the hidden line one, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we get textures on them. Okay, so now we're back to hidden line. Now, let's imagine, well, first off, I want to show you why this one has a texture on it. So if I go to edit type, I'll get my other window over on the screen that I'm recording. It'll say edit. That's the siding clapboard. So I click on this, I'll get this one over. See under the pattern, it says 6-inch parallel. So if I wanted to, it's a model pattern, I could change it to 4-inch parallel if I wanted my siding lines to be closer together. So now you'll notice I've got siding that's got it's went from 6 inches between my siding pieces to 4 inches. Now, when it says it's a model line, that always stays 6 inches or 4 inches to scale. So let's look at that. So if I look at, if I change the scale of these elevations that they're going on the sheet to an 1/8 inch scale, it's still, see, my text and everything gets bigger because that's got to stay the same size. But my model, if I scale that out at 1/8 inch, it's still going to be 4 inches. So let's go back in and look at 1/4 inch scale the way it was. Okay, so the siding size doesn't change when you're drawing scales. It always scales, it's always going to be 4 inches at whatever scale it's drawn at. Well, there's another kind of hatch that's called a drafting scale, a drafting hatch, and that does not change scale. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to edit this roof to try to show some hatch on the shingles. So here's my asphalt shingles. So you see there's no pattern here. Now, if I look at my model patterns, nothing really does it for me. Maybe woodboard wide would do it, I don't know. But if I look at my drafting pattern, there's a really nice pattern there for shingles, or at least it looks like what canned shingles can look like. So I can make a new fill pattern and duplicate it and adjust it and edit it. So let me just show you what it looks like out of the box here. So if I put the shingle pattern on, okay, okay, okay. Now you'll notice if I zoom way in, there's that shingle pattern. So it'd be very dark, lots of lines on the page, maybe a little extreme. Now notice what happens though when I change the scale. If I change it to a very, very small scale, like 1 inch equals a foot, or I should say a very, very big scale, it is still that same pattern, except the scale is so big that it turns black. Maybe it'll be better if I show it at a huge scale, like 1 inch equals 50 feet. So this is going to be a tiny little drawing. I guess I picked something a little too extreme. Let's do 1 inch equals 10 feet. So this is a tiny little drawing, and you see that hatch stays the same scale, except now that the drawing is tiny. So let's go back into a 1/4 inch equals a foot. So that hatch pattern is always the same no matter what scale it's at. So it's not going to look the same as your scale changes. Now let's imagine that we want to adjust this and get it so it's not quite so dense at a 1/4 inch scale. So we're going to go back into the roof. We're going to edit the type. We're going to edit the structure. We're going to open the material up. Now we've got our texture. It's a drafting texture, but we want to duplicate it and edit it so that it's not quite so dense at a 1/4 inch scale. So we're going to duplicate fill pattern. We're going to call it shingle. You see it's set up at 1 inch equals a foot. We're going to call that shingle a 1/4 scale. And then we're going to change this to 0.25, see what happens. We're going to hit OK. And we're going to hit OK. Well, obviously that was in the wrong direction. We want to make it 4 times as big, not as 1/4 as big. So we're going to make that 4, not 0.25. See how that looks. Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, that doesn't look half bad. No, I'm not a big fan of using the shingle hatch, but at least this shows you how you can adjust it if you did want to use a shingle hatch. So I'm not going to require you to use hidden line. I'm not going to require you to use realistic. Do whatever you think works best for your design, and it's going to be in your portfolio. Okay, thank you.